Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to do the classic tier list video. No, we're gonna do kind of a prediction and just kind of talk about the Pro Tour Lille. If I'm saying that correctly, Pro Tour Lille that's coming this weekend. It's actually gonna be happening 2 days from now. At the time of recording this, it's Wednesday before the event. And just kind of talk about where we think kind of the meta is going into it. How the recent Dash and Breyer performances affect it, and lack thereof of Prism and stuff like that. So overall, this isn't like a full cope like meta tier list of like what is good and what is bad. It's more just like my reactions and what I think is going to be kind of going on the list or in the meta. So my initial thought and my initial thing I want to say before this, so no one comes at me in the comments, is I legitimately think you can play any hero in the game right now. This is the healthiest meta we've ever had in Flesh and Blood by far, in my opinion. And while there are certain heroes like Bolton and Azealia that aren't getting a lot of love, I do think that like you can go to the Pro Tour, even Pro Tour level. I think if you know the deck and you pilot it well and you're highly skilled, you can win with any hero in the game right now. Truly, there are a couple like matchup dependent things. There's when you play a hero, you're good against some heroes in the meta, you're bad against others. Are there heroes that are more solid against the meta? Sure, 100%. We'll talk about that. But overall, you can play any hero in the game. And that's why I put this in the 4 different categories. I put meta choice, which is kind of like the big meta players like we're obviously going to talk about. Like Prism is a big one, Viscerai, stuff like that. Then you have the can still win, which means like maybe they're not like top tier auto picks for a lot of people, but they're also a hero that like you're like, okay, this hero, if piloted correctly and it plays well and avoids maybe its bad matchups, it can win the whole event. Then you have rogue heroes, which are kind of like those ones like the Kano of last event or the last big event where it just comes out of nowhere. And then you have what I call labor of love heroes. They're not bad. They're just you play them. You're not expecting maybe to go super far, but maybe if you have a highly skilled pilot, maybe they can do some decent work with it. But it's really just because you love the hero, and kind of can go from there. So looking at it, we can even change labor of love to do well with a highly skilled pilot. That's kind of how I would say it. Maybe someone that can still do well with a highly skilled pilot and still perform. So well, let's go in the order it is in here. I think it's pretty much alphabetical for the most part, not quite, but close to it. So first one is Azealia. Azealia is definitely a do well with highly skilled pilot type hero, right? She's still not a top hero in the meta, not something that you're going to be going nuts for, but you definitely can win some games with her. She's not trash. She's just not as good as everyone else. She's been kind of in the same area for the last couple of times, so nothing's crazy there. Kind of the other obvious ones. Levia right now I think can do well on a highly skilled pilot, but it's very hard. It's very much labor of love if you play her. But you can't expect to just be automatically placing well with her. Then you have some other heroes. Dromai I think right now is it's weird. Like I've seen some big events where Dromai's actually got like cracked the top 8 and done well. So I'm gonna put her in this highly skilled pilot category. Like if she has a really good pilot and the person knows what they're doing, they can do really well. The Dromai player in Singapore was like 1 round away from making top 8. I watched him play against that Prism. He was a very highly skilled player. So I think if she can avoid the bad matchups and the person knows how to play her really well, especially if she can get piloted against like the Guardians and Prism and stuff like that, I think she definitely has a chance. Fi can still win. I don't care what anyone says. He's definitely not as good, in my opinion. He's marginally worse than like Breyer and Vis, and he has worse matchups into the rest of the meta than the other heroes have, like Breyer and Vis, right? Like for me, the way I look at it, and some people may disagree, is Fi is equally as powerful still as Viscerai and Breyer, in my opinion, especially if you play him in more of a consistency standpoint. The problem is his bad matchups are worse than the Viscerai and Breyer's bad matchups. Like when he has a bad matchup, it's a bad matchup. He does not like Bravo, does not like Oldheim now without the pop off turn. It's still winnable, but it's not fun. There's a couple heroes he doesn't block as well as like Viscerai and Breyer do. So his bad matchups make him worse, right? But he can still win. He cracked top 8 in Singapore with a skilled pilot and playing the right decks and playing the right way. He still can win an event, in my opinion. He's definitely not up there, the top, but he can still win. Icelander, I'm gonna put in the rogue category. We saw Icelander win the Battle Hardened in Singapore. I think if you have an extremely high tier Icelander player, a really high skill pilot, and they can avoid their bad matchups like the Prism matchup, like the Jeremiah matchup, I think that if you can just keep high rolling those aggro decks and then try to survive against the Guardians, that you could see an Icelander just crack and do really, really well, especially at a Pro Tour level where you're going to have some really skilled players at that event. Bolton, people are memeing Bolton right now, but I still think Bolton's decent, right? With a really high skilled pilot. He's just kind of on the lower tier right now. Not much to say about him. Bravo is in the can still win category. He's above 5. He does really well into a lot of the aggro decks right now. He's gotten a lot more consistent than he used to be, and some of the best Bravo players in the world, right, are going to be at that event. So definitely can still win. Struggles a little bit in the Prism, obviously, and doesn't do well into like Illusionist, but he does well into the aggro decks. I think where it hurts him is you're going to see a lot of Viserai representation, and I think Viserai for him is a better matchup than most of the aggro decks. Like he struggles, not struggles, but it's harder for him to win against a Viserai than a Breyer or a Phi. It's kind of like Viserai, Breyer, Phi for him. And with so much Viserai representation, and then Breyer probably being the second most played aggro deck, it makes it harder for him to consistently get up maybe in that meta choice category. Breyer's going to be in the meta choice. She did really well at Singapore. I really truly think Viserai is it's similar to what I said about Phi. I think in a head-to-head matchup in a vacuum, Viserai is better, right? Viserai is better. However, and Viserai is just barely better though. I think what separates Viserai from Breyer is again, Viserai's bad matchups aren't as bad as Breyer's bad matchups, but it's very close. I truly think when it comes to Breyer and Viserai, I think Viserai is better, but I also think it just depends on the feeling of who's being repped that event, right? Like in Singapore, we saw a ton of Breyer representation and not as much Viserai representation, at least not as much as we expected. So I really think it's the feeling of the players and what Runeblade they want to play is based off what you're going to see. But regardless, she's a meta choice in my opinion, definitely someone that you want to play. Then you have Viserai, obviously another meta choice, like for the same reasons. He really doesn't have a bad matchup. He's one of the best decks in the format anyway. And then on top of that, like give me a bad matchup for Viserai. He doesn't have one. He really doesn't. Oldheim, I guess, is the worst one in the meta in my opinion. But he does pretty well in the Prism. He does pretty well into. He does okay into Bravo. He does well into the other aggro decks, right? He can really hurt a lot of the decks going on. He can block out if you know how to play against her. Block out dash a little bit easier than other decks. I think that dash really surprised people when people just didn't know how to play against Tekla Pounder. Not that dash is bad, but I think a lot of people just weren't expecting dash and just didn't play correctly. That's just my opinion. So yeah, he's definitely a meta choice. Dash is in the can still win category. I'm not going to put her in the meta choice. I don't think people are magically going to switch to dash between Singapore and Lille. I don't think it's going to change, right? A lot of the people going to this pro tour have been testing for weeks. Most people that aren't on dash already are just going to test against dash, right? Like I've already seen some screenshots of people doing late night testing in Lille and just going up against a dash deck because they're expecting like someone that doesn't know what they want to play to just switch to dash. But most people that have been testing a certain deck for probably a month or two aren't just going to switch to dash because she won one event, right? But she's still in the can win category. Definitely a solid deck. Dorinthia right now is interesting for me, okay? And I'll tell you why. She's interesting for me because if there's not a lot of Prism representation, which I think there will be at Lille, then she could do better. But there is a lot, along with some Guardians. It's going to be hard for her. I'm probably going to put her in the skilled pilot category. So like if I had to order this group, I probably would order it like this. Like this. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm screwing up here. I probably order it like this. I'd say Jeremiah first, Levia second, then Dory, then Bolton, and Azealia. So that's I probably put her in the skill pilot category. She's a weird deck for me. I haven't looked over her as much as other people. I've definitely played her in Blitz and stuff. It's just CC. I really haven't seen enough games with her to really can tell where she's at in the meta. So I'm just gonna put her in the do well skill pilot category. Kano's a rogue category. Both wizards are. If Kano can just high roll people, if people don't respect him in AB, he still can do things that he did last time. And it's going to be interesting to see if people respect it. I think with Icelander being in the meta a little bit more and with her doing well in that battle hardened, I think people are going to be packing AB and really respecting her. People aren't, especially at the Pro Tour level, like people are like, we've seen this before. We're not going to let it happen again. So definitely in the rogue category though, for sure. Katsu's on the bomb end. As much as it kills me to say this, I do think he's better than most of these decks, in my opinion, maybe behind Jeremiah. I think with a really skilled pilot, he can do some pretty good things, especially if he avoids his bad matchups like Bravo. Um, because I still think would take the tempo and Shuko having given a little bit more block value if you want to use that. Reagan scale is just too good though. And with double strike, allowing him to extend chains, like he definitely has some options now. So I don't think he's a bad deck by any means. I think a lot of people thought he was going to be better than he is now going into this meta. I think you're just not going to see a lot of representation for him at a Pro Tour level, personally. Most people are just going to play Fi if they really want to play Ninja. So that's why I put him there. I don't know why KO's in this list. I still haven't figured that out. It's funny. Lexi's to do well in a skilled pilot, and I probably put her here. People keep saying she's good, but we haven't seen the results yet that we want to see. I love Lexi. I have a full Lexi deck literally sitting on my desk over there that I love to play, but it's just she's had a couple blips here and there, but overall she's not good enough in my opinion to put in the rogue category where she can just take over a tournament if no one respects her. I don't think she's in the can win or meta choice, so she's at the top, can do well with the highly skilled pilot. Oldheim, I'm going to put Oldheim in rogue, not because he's naturally a rogue hero, but because this is why. Because I think he's a rogue deck based off matchups. If he can avoid the illusionist avoid the illusionist matchup, and he can avoid some other like worse matchups for him and just really prey on the aggro decks, then he can just run through a tournament, right? We saw Oldheim do well in the secondary event at Singapore, but he did really bad in the main event. I think Oldheim's problem is most people that play in Oldheim right now are just going to play Bravo because Bravo is better into the meta as a whole, in my opinion, than Oldheim is. So I think that's a reason that you're going to have some trouble, and that's why I put him in the rogue category, honestly. Then you have Prism, obviously a meta choice, although she is going down for me. Like Prism has done really well, and people keep waiting for Prism to LL, but in a couple of last of the big events, it's weird. You either see like 4 Prisms in the top 8 or 0. It's really meta point dependent and it's really hard, but she's still a meta choice. Like it's pretty common. Reinar's weird. I'm gonna put Reinar and do well with a skilled pilot and probably put him down there. Probably do it like this. He could be a rogue deck and he's still really good, but I think that he just has some trouble with a lot of the meta heroes in the game right now. You might could even put him in the rogue category if you wanted, like as someone who just maybe could get lucky and have the right matchups and do well, but I just don't see it at a Pro Tour level, right? Like this tier list is not based off the meta as a whole in Flesh and Blood. It's based off the Pro Tour and what we're going to see at the Pro Tour. At the Pro Tour level, you could have 1 or 2 Reinars that are extremely skilled and get the right matchups and do really well, but overall, I don't think it's going to be to the level that you're expecting. So this is kind of like what I see with the list. I see these 6 heroes making up the top of the meta. And I see like if I had to like bet money on a hero that's going to win, it's going to be one of these 6. When it comes to overall representation, and I'm gonna do this really fast, just like on this top line. So if you skip to this part of the video, you're gonna see a bunch of people on the top line. They'll probably be really confused. But I see the representation kind of looking probably like this, which is probably what it's gonna end up being. I'll kind of give you my top ones, right? I think you're gonna see that, and then maybe you'll see Dash. And then you'll start seeing like Illusionist. Illusionist might even be over it, right? I think you'll see it kind of like this. Like that's how your representation. After that, it kind of gets muddied with these 8. But I think that's like percentage wise representation. I think that's how it goes. I think Viscera and Breyer, like it's been, if you go back and look at every major event in the last like 4 events, it's been the 3 aggro decks, Guardian, Illusionist, Guardian, or the 3 aggro decks, Illusionist Guardian or Guardian Illusionist. They flip flop, right? You saw Dromai kind of be up here at first, but now she's kind of gone back a little bit. I maybe like this actually. I think I think Oldham might drop a little bit. I think you might see it like this, right? That's how the representation will go percentage wise, but we'll have to see, right? It all depends. So that's where I have everyone right now. Let me know your thoughts. Again, this is more from a Pro Tour Lille perspective, and kind of it's gonna be interesting to see. Let's see how wrong or right I am as far as like what's represented and what's going on. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. Hopefully y'all excited to watch this weekend. I'll be watching as well. So definitely let me know what your predictions are. I'd love to hear them. Let me know what type of content you're wanting to see here soon. I'm trying to think of some different stuff and kind of go through and weave in and out of the work life, right? But yeah, hopefully y'all have a good rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.